remember the point of it. Remember that you're building a community. You're not just doing this to get famous. You're not doing this to make it about yourself. You're doing it to build a community. And that's really what all the successful YouTube channels have done. My name is Scott Bradlee. I'm the creator of Postmodern Jukebox.
And I was like, baby, 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 oh. You and me could write a bad romance. I wanna, you like an animal. I'm a genie in a bottle. It's the final countdown.
Ice, ice, baby. Word to your mother.
You have to have some people that doubt you, because that's the only way. It's kind of like a test. It's like people are trying to see if you're really committed to this idea and seeing it through and making it work. I believe that a lot of these ideas are really possible, even the things that seem crazy. You really have to find a way to take the initiative and make it happen, because other people are going to doubt you. Rhapsody Blue had this combination of jazz and classical music, which I thought was really cool, how they kind of mashed up all these genres together. So I started kind of teaching myself piano and eventually got pretty good at it. Went to school for music, and then after school moved to New York City. I saw that there's a lot of people that were putting themselves on YouTube, but it was like at this time kind of like more amateur type of content and everything. Before that time, I kind of thought myself a little too high and mighty to put myself on YouTube. I was like, that's not for professionals. But then I just figured, well, I'm not really getting any work. Like, what have I got to lose? And I uploaded a video on YouTube, just me doing like this kind of funny mashup thing that I used to do when I was a kid, of taking, modern day songs and playing them as ragtime. And it went viral. And then I remember checking the next day and I see just like this whole list of comments, going down, and I was like, how did people find my video? And I found that Neil Gaiman, the writer, had tweeted it to all of his followers, and within a day it had, 10,000 views. So I wasn't sure what that meant, but I knew that it was something I wanted to explore further, and that there was something there that was moving people in a way that I hadn't moved people before. In my mind, the end goal was to get this on stage, get this to be like a big production, get it to be a tour. And it took me a while to figure out how exactly to do that, especially since we had kind of an interesting channel. It was a lot of different singers that were on it. Sometimes there was a 7-foot clown named Puddles on it.
And we'll never be royals. It's a run in our blood.
So I decided that the best way to kind of show this off in a live setting was to make a variety show and bring back the concept of variety shows. I remember my grandmother used to watch Lawrence Welk show, so we kind of call it Lawrence Welk with 100% more twerking, kind of the updated version of it. So I would bring in this rotating cast of musicians and singers, maybe about a dozen performers with me, and we would do a lot of the repertoire, all the videos that we had done on my channel, and put them in different settings. And the whole thing was kind of like you're back in time, in the golden age of music, whatever that might mean to you. And it's almost like you're going to the coolest party with Frank Sinatra and the Rat Pack back in New Year's of 1940. That was the show's concept, and that became kind of what we became known for.
Don't stop believing. Hold on to the feeling.
It was definitely very overwhelming to get to the point where all of a sudden I needed to expand the operation. I needed to bring on a team. I needed to give up control of a lot of things in order to, put my trust in other people. And that was a lot to kind of do. I was used to doing everything myself, and I did really until about 2014. And then I got management, then I had an agent, then I had lawyers, and then I had accountants and all these kind of things. And that was a tricky transition. And then the more people that were involved in the project, the more kind of personalities to manage, the more difficult questions there were to be answered about the project. So that was a pretty stressful experience. And then also I was kind of working myself pretty hard too. I think that I put a lot of pressure on myself now that all of a sudden I had this opportunity to make the most of it. And I definitely put in a lot of hours, and I'm grateful for the experience, and I wouldn't have changed anything I think that I needed to go through that. But if I saw somebody going through what I was going through at that time, I'd be like, hey, just chill out a bit, just relax, you know? Don't overwork yourself. Make sure that you, especially in a creative project, you want to make sure that you always have those creative fires burning. And if you do too much work, if you stress yourself too much, then you're not going to have that energy to do all the creative stuff.
I'm gonna pop some tags. Only got $20 in my pocket. I'm hunting, looking for a come up. This is freaking awesome.
Around 2013, that's when we had our biggest viral hit at the time. We did a cover of the Macklemore song "Thrift Shop," and that went all over the internet. And that was a crazy feeling, because we had, you know, I had some viral videos before, but nothing that got like 1 million in a week. And then we had downloads for that song on SoundCloud. People were just downloading like crazy, and it was like realizing that there was actually a demand for this kind of thing. And that's the moment that I realized that this could be a whole business. This wasn't just a flash in the pan YouTube thing. When I started making YouTube videos, I was renting this very small basement apartment. There was a lot of space, but there was nothing else. There was no stove. It wasn't furnished by any means, but it had all the space to shoot these videos, and that's really all I needed. That became my workspace. And then I moved apartments, and after I started getting a little bit more success, I moved to like a nicer apartment. But then I did the same thing, and I turned that into a studio. And then I moved to Los Angeles and got a bigger house, and then I turned that into a studio. So it's just pretty much, it's just what I do, you know? There's something about recording in a living room that just makes everybody at ease, and it just feels familiar, and it feels like you're just friends hanging out rather than, you know, like, oh, we gotta get this video together and we're all stressed out and everything. So I've always kind of kept that aesthetic, and even today, we film in my living room, just with, you know, nicer cameras and stuff.
To my homegirls here with the big butt, shaking it like we at a strip club.
So the most viral we ever really went was when we covered "We Can't Stop," the Miley Cyrus song, as a doo-wop 1950s cover. And it became the most watched video on YouTube for the day that it was released, which was crazy. And we wound up getting 4 million views in a day, in a single day. And I would get inquiries from ABC World News and Good Morning America and all these legit news outlets reaching out, wanting to know about Postmodern Jukebox, wanting to know what we were doing. That one just kind of hit a nerve in a way that I think our previous videos didn't, because it was so timely, it was so relevant. Miley Cyrus had just performed a very controversial routine at the Video Music Awards. And then we come in with this squeaky clean doo-wop version, and there's an amazing doo-wop group that sings with us named the T-Tones that are local. It was just such a fun, uplifting kind of video that it became stuff that people were sharing all over the place, and it just took off. My reason for writing the book, Outside the Jukebox, was really to give everybody hope that is involved in YouTube or creative ventures or whatever, that it is possible. You don't need a record label. You don't need to have big corporate backing or anything like that. You can build a fan base and do all these things with all the tools that are on the internet right now. And my advice to anybody that is starting a YouTube channel right now in 2018 is to remember the point of it. Remember that you're building a community. You're not just doing this to get famous. You're not doing this to make it about yourself. You're doing it to build a community. And that's really what all the successful YouTube channels have done. And if you focus on that, you focus on engagement, you know, all these words that get thrown around, there's real things, the real value behind these words. Engagement is crucial to any brand or to any band or to any artist. You have to find a way to make yourself and your work relevant. And that's what engagement does. Well, I think that's been the most uplifting part of this whole journey, you know, and that's when things feel real. When I get to connect with real people whose lives have been touched, who, you know, have been inspired in some way. I mean, that's something that's beyond what I ever thought was possible.